All right, welcome back to the program. You're listening to Life, Liberty, Happiness. Check us out on YouTube at LLH_podcast. Today's special guest, Ty Severa.
Yes.
Is that how you say that? I don't want.
That's correct.
All right. Welcome to the program first.
Thanks for having me.
Ty is the owner of First Response Building Services.
Yes.
All right. Tell us, before we get into exactly what you're doing, let's talk about you in general. Where's home?
Home is in Roanoke. It's in Cave Spring. Born and raised all my life in Roanoke. Vinton area is where I went to school. Went to William Byrd. Graduated in 2016, and I've just stayed around since then. So,
2016.
Yeah.
So you're a young one.
Yeah, I am. I guess you could say.
Well, no, I mean, when I think about that, I know there was a 3-year stretch there. William Byrd was pretty daggone good in football.
That was right after I left. I did not get to live that, but
they had a really good run there.
Yeah, they were starting to look up my senior year.
Yeah.
And the 2 years after that, I think they went to the playoffs both years, and I think they went to the state semis one year.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I remember that team. I was coaching at Liberty, so I do remember that.
Yep.
Vividly.
Yeah. I think there was a year recently that they went to the state championship and lost to, I think it was Liberty. No, it was the school up in Lynchburg right beside Liberty. High School,
LCA?
Right? Or LCA? Yeah, in the state championship game.
Gotcha.
That was like 2 years ago. Yeah.
So. All right, so after high school, what do you end up doing?
So I had gotten an interest in public safety before I graduated. I met a deputy that actually was up here in Bedford County. He was a sergeant at the time.
Okay.
And did a couple of ride-alongs, and I just fell in love with it. So wasn't old enough at the time, so I went to Roanoke County Dispatch. I was a dispatcher for 2 years.
Okay.
Answering 911 calls, and knew that was just a jumping block for me.
Sure.
So then I was the youngest to be hired by Roanoke County Police. I was 20 when they hired me. Didn't turn 21 until 6 weeks before the academy ended.
Wow.
And then hit the streets at 21. So.
Does Roanoke also do Cardinal?
No, we have our own, or they had their own academy, joint with Roanoke City.
Gotcha.
So, about 70% of what we did was with the city.
Right.
And then the other was, county specific stuff.
I gotcha.
So it's over by the airport. So.
I'm assuming once you got into that, was it what you expected or was it different?
It was definitely what I expected, and the only reason I can say that is because I had done so many ride-alongs. Sure. I had kind of, I was all in. I was consumed by it, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And that's probably why I got burnt out so quickly. But that first several years, it was what I expected, what I wanted, and was fulfilling.
So before you go much farther, just gotta ask one question by chance. When you were doing the dispatch, did you ever work with Melissa Williams? Do you know Melissa Williams? Missy Williams?
Do not.
Okay. All right. Just wondering. So she was at dispatch forever, but I'm not sure if it was Roanoke County. Just wondered.
Gotcha.
So I always tell people who are listening that if you ever get a chance to do a ride along, whether you're interested in law enforcement or not, it's worth going.
You still tell stories when you did it.
It's some of my favorite memories are just, I had a buddy of mine that was a police officer in the city of Lynchburg, and he worked third. At that time, they worked third. They had 3 shifts.
Yep. And
so, like, if I was going to be off the next day, I'd call him and I'd say, "Hey, can I ride tonight?" And he's like, "Heck yeah." And it's an eye-opening experience.
Yep.
And it's so many levels to it. Like, it's not just one thing. It was like, unfortunately, one of the calls we went on was a murder. And just, there's so many things that nobody thinks about. To me, it had been at a hotel, yet once they found out it was a dead body, they closed the door. And then they're not allowed to go in until a search warrant comes. And it's it's little things that nobody.
It's a lot.
And then after that, it's boring.
Right.
Because you're standing at the door.
There. Yeah. You're sitting or standing. Hopefully you're sitting, but most of the time you're standing on, on the LE side if you're there. But yeah, I had a stretch where probably the first 5 years of my career when I would have a ride along, the first ride along I ever had, I made an arrest on. And that, you usually ride alongside our department would come in, they'd be with an officer and they'd go write some traffic tickets or something. And then, the day's done, right? Yeah. I was like, no, I have one arrest. I want to carry that on. So for the first probably 5 years, I never had a ride along that I did not make an arrest on.
Oh, wow.
And that extended into, I had a ride along that witnessed a fight in front of my car. I had a ride along that witnessed a foot pursuit of mine that ended up being with a homicide suspect, like after the fact. And just some crazy stuff that I felt was good for them to see.
Yeah.
These citizens get to see something that they otherwise may have not have seen. So
did you do that for about 10 years?
So I went into dispatch at 2016 and then PD 2018, and I left last year. So it's about 9 years.
Okay.
Wow.
So, gotcha.
Yeah.
And is there a lot of court time?
It's a ton of court time. Yeah.
Really?
I did a lot of interdiction in my time. So I chose to be proactive and try to arrest people and get dope off the streets. And there was times where I would have 3 or 4 page docket, and I would just be there from 9 in the morning to 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Wow.
So
I wondered that because I've done a little stint myself for excessive speeding, and then one time Brian and I hunted near some game, hunted near some bait.
we had nothing to do with.
And so I've been in court twice, and I think, man, sitting here all day just people watching would be incredible. And your wife, she works at the courthouse, so it's like literally stuff I would be fascinated to watch it every day, but I don't think I could sit in there all day long.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that I'm not sure people understand is, and he can probably speak more to this, is there is a separation between the judge and the police officer. So it's, you, the citizen, the police officer, and the judge, they are not connected, the judge and the police officer.
Not at all.
As a matter of fact, it's probably a little more standoffish on that end.
Right, because it's
definitely
defense first. Right. Yeah.
The later part of my career, it definitely, in my opinion, it felt that way.
Yeah.
And not to the extent that I felt like it was. It felt that way. We'll leave it at that.
No, it's frustrating.
Depending on what Commonwealth attorney you have that's with you, there's some really good attorneys that I worked with, and there were some that maybe I felt like didn't have my best interest in mind at times.
Sure.
And that complicated it too, and it compounds on itself when you're in court constantly. Like a person like myself would be there sometimes 3-4 times a week, and when I was on midnight shift, it didn't matter if I had worked 10 hours and I had been up since 4 o'clock the day before. I'm expected to either stay over to 9 or go home and sleep for an hour and a half and put my uniform back on and be there at 11.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yep.
And that was brutal, to say the least.
I never thought about that.
Oh, yeah. There's just that's what I'm saying. There's so many little things that I don't, we talk about it all the time, about the sacrifices that you make. It's also why divorce rates are through the roof.
Yes.
Because there's not a lot of time. And it's brutal.
Yeah. I don't know how my wife and I would do it right now. We have a 15-month-old at home, love her to death. And, I left right after she was born, and thinking about the schedule that I had, and, I don't think we would have been able to do it. She would have had to cut hours back. And, she was making more than I was at the police department, doing what she does. So it would have been tough. She gets hours cut, and then we're, juggling around who's taking her to the sitter and vice versa. And so, it's really tough. Yeah.
All right. So tell us how you got into this next phase.
Sure. So 2024 comes around. Actually, let's back up a little bit. 2023, I had both my parents are self-employed, have been for as long as I can remember. My dad in the racing industry had his own business racing for, 20, 30 years, keeping up people's race cars. And then my mom had a cleaning business. And so that gene, I guess, was always there. Mm-hmm. And 2023, I started developing an interest in real estate. So I started a real estate company with my brother-in-law, started flipping land, and kind of got a taste of what that side of the fence looks like, and just kind of some of the things that, are good on the entrepreneurial side and some of the freedoms that it could give you. And then my father-in-law, he's a successful entrepreneur back in Roanoke, and we would go on vacation, and he'd be like, you ought to start this cleaning company, and, do you have any coworkers that want to come out and earn some extra money? And I, for like 3 years, we'd have the same conversation on the beach, and I would be like, I haven't asked anybody. I don't know. And finally, the third year, it clicked, and it was like, you know what? I'm out here trying to side hustle and at the police department make extra money. Why have I not offered this up to coworkers? And so I started a cleaning company and did it, very limited. I did not put a lot of time into it at the start. I was at the police department still. But then when we had our daughter, I said that I had a few bad shifts there at the end, and I said, it's either all or nothing. I'm just going to take the jump now and leave. And so that's what I did. And just been on the road to, grind and figure it out since then.
And you've been doing, I guess, 3 years?
Yeah, so we won't really talk about the real estate company, it's kind of hit or miss. But in terms of cleaning, we started it in August of 24. But I didn't really, we were doing some more real estate stuff when I left the police department. And so since then, we really kicked up the gear on the cleaning company about summer of last year, and really started trying to, hire employees and grow. And since then, it's really taken off. A couple key hires have helped me take off tremendously.
I'll tell you what helped us want to invite you to come here is we're doing this. We like to do this series, American Heroes. And so last year it was veterans that we talked to. And this year it's people that donate their time or help those in the community.
Yeah.
And when I heard about your story is not only are you a cleaning company that does work for, I guess houses and residential and commercial and all that, but you hire people that are in the workforces to help get them extra income, right?
Right. Okay. Yep. Yeah. So I'll touch on that. So that's definitely the biggest value that we bring as a company. So my goal initially was just first responders and their families. So, we're talking police, fire, rescue, corrections, dispatchers, and their direct family to come out and clean. And the idea behind that was to, for one, as the first responder, I know what those families make in terms of income, or I know what those jobs pay, and I know they need to earn more, or most of them, they want to earn more, and they look for that. So I thought, okay, well, let's allow them to have a non-stressful way to come out and earn, not have to put their lives on the line. On the police side, not have to get more court time, right? Yeah. While also on the other side, the business owners, so we are very strong in commercial. About all but 2 or 3 of our accounts are commercial accounts. And so the business owners, for one, in the cleaning industry, we kind of get a bad rap because a lot of the companies, either they just don't show up, or they have problems with theft or things along those lines. So if I'm telling these businesses that, okay, we're bringing a first responder in, maybe they're a corrections officer or whatnot, they're already vetted by a local government, and I do my own background checks and we do our state police background checks. But, sometimes it's monotonous. Like, this guy's a police officer. Like, I got to send a state police background check to this, that kind of thing. But it gives them an extra blanket of security knowing that this is the person in their building.
Sure.
And then we ended up this year expanding to healthcare, as well as public school teachers and people that are working in the public school scene.
Very cool.
Yeah. So, your clientele, obviously, looking at your website, is more geared to institutional, I would say, commercial buildings, things like that.
Yep.
Do you also do residential, I guess I would say, after construction type?
We do. Yeah, we have a pretty strong clientele of contractors and flippers that we do work for. That comes a lot from my real estate, experience as well. So that kind of, overlaps. So we do post-construction and we'll do deep cleans. But our strong suit definitely is in the commercial recurring. That's where we can bring the most value, because those are the clients that are needing that trusted person that's always going to show up and not, steal from them or whatnot in their buildings.
That's right.
So
how would you say business is going? How many employees, how many people do you think you have on average at a time do you have working with you?
Right now I have 7. I've been up as high as 9. Yeah. We had a wave of growth. This year we've tripled in recurrent account size this year. So and that's since January 1. So we serve right now 23 businesses in Roanoke and Daleville, 1 in Newcastle. And then we're intending on, or we're fairly confident we're expanding into Franklin County as well by the end of the summer. Wow. So we're looking to hire about 4 or 5 more for that expansion.
That's awesome, terrific. Man. I love young people that sweat. Just and grind, and you call it entrepreneurial. And we talked about this when we were kids. That was a badge of honor. Like, they actually taught it. We literally had classes that talked about what the word entrepreneur is. And now it doesn't seem like
I never had that.
Yeah.
I never had that when I was
that's unbelievable that you saw that spirit. I thought that was one of the things. I want to do something like that.
Right. Well, I'm saying I had the spirit, but I never had the class. Like it was never
That's
taught.
crazy.
Like that was not something that was instructed. Like how to even start. What is an LLC? You're like, that was all stuff that I had to look it up.
But we know the Pythagorean theorem.
Right. Yeah.
But we don't know the stuff you really need to know.
Yeah, we don't know the Hindenburg.
Right. I love that too.
These
Yeah.
are important things.
Don't know how to file our own taxes. Like, what
So what interested me, you were in our office and we were talking. The other thing I thought was really cool, and if you could touch on this a little bit, you mentioned your dad and racing, and Brian is a big race fan, and we talked about Mr. Busher and the T-shirt he got me and all that stuff, and we're big NASCAR fans.
Oh, we sponsor a car. Let's not forget
And we
that.
sponsor a car at Pulaski. Yeah. So Corey Dunn, right? Dunn
Yep.
Racing. And so
Yeah.
just tell a little bit about you. You said you were in the kart series and you went on tour a little bit, and just talk about that as a young kid, what that did for you.
Well, I think I'll touch on this piece a little too, because I think the entrepreneurial background will kind of come out here. So, my dad was primarily local series NASCAR crew chief for several years, but they also did the Pro Cup series with multiple drivers. He won a championship in '98 with Jeff Agnew with the USAR Pro Cup series.
Okay.
He also ran with Johnny Rumley in the Busch series, and then he's been with I don't know how many late model racers, probably 50 or more.
Yeah.
Won Martinsville, with late model drivers. He's done some pretty incredible things.
That's a huge deal, Martinsville.
Yes, it is. I grew up, all over the place at the racetrack. And so there's kind of a time period in between that and when I started racing where I loved airsoft, little, plastic BB guns. And so my dad had a race shop in Stewartsville at the time, and I wanted to start getting people together and playing airsoft games. So I advertised it on Facebook. It was the first group, it was before Roanoke Airsoft. And so I had people showing up from all over the place. I didn't even have waivers for them to sign. And so needless to say, the landlord at the race shop was not happy. We had to relocate fields. We'll just put it that way.
Wow.
But I was in the paper. I was in Roanoke Times for that. Still got that one hanging up. But then, so enter the racing world. So my dad, he never drove with the exception of karts. And there was always this bent up purple and yellow kart chassis that was in the race shop all the time. And I was a kid growing up. I never really thought anything of it. Well, one day I asked him, and I have a picture of it on my phone. The left frame rail was bent up probably 6 inches on it. And he come to find out he was racing at Montvale down here one night after I had been born. And he got into a crash that ended up sending the other guy. He got airlifted by Lifeguard 10 from Montvale Speedway. And so my dad never kart raced again after that. And so then naturally I'm like, all right, well, it's kart racing. And so my dad was with his last late model client he had, Derek Lancaster out of Christiansburg. And we were at the racetrack that year, 2011. And we went and bought a really old chassis. It was like a 10-year-old kart chassis. And I started going to this track in Henry called Providence. It was our home track. And got my feet wet with it. I was terrible the first year I was learning. And we ended up buying a new chassis that year, but he wouldn't let me drive it until he could be at the racetrack with me. So that second year we went back and we just kind of took off. So Providence was our home track, but we ended up traveling in a few different series. The Tri-State Series was a big series at that time. Karting was kind of in its heyday. So I raced for 4 or so years. We ended up getting into the entrepreneurial side of that. We ended up keeping up some kids' karts. I don't know if you're familiar with Bugman and the Niningers, but Kip was a driver that we kept up his karts for a while out of our shop. And we went to the racetrack together, and I did the tires, and I kept the karts up, and we won some races. So it was pretty cool.
That's cool.
It is cool. Oftentimes I wonder, and I really would like to learn that side of the racing, the business side of it. Like, I know it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I know, it's a lot of money to us that we give for the sponsorship. But the numbers don't line up in my head of how these guys do it.
It's never lined up for me, and I know a little bit of it on the kart side because I know, just karting is the base level, so everything goes up from here. But for what we were doing, we were karting at I wouldn't say the top of the top level because we could compete against them guys, but we couldn't do it every weekend because we couldn't afford to travel and get to the track every weekend. But at that time in 2012, we were going to the track with about 20, 25 sets of tires in the trailer. A case of tires was about $600 at the time. So a case of 6 sets. So you do the math on just the tires. Brand new chassis then was about $3,500. Motors were about $1,000. Trailers, your trailer to get to the track, fuel, entry fees, all the tools you need to keep the stuff up. So the only way for us that it made sense was keeping up the kids' carts. So, the parents would approach us and say, you guys are, competitive and my kid wants to get into something and do it. And so they would pay you to keep up the equipment, do the tires, get them to the track. And at that point, it was like, okay, I might be break even on my costs or a little bit less. I'm spending a little more than break even. Mm-hmm. So on the upper levels, it's really just because I have a racing itch to go back racing right now. My wife kills me for it, but I keep telling her by the end of the next year or two, I'm going to go back racing somewhere.
I can see you in a late model.
I want to be in a late model. That's what
Yeah.
I've went up to Canada and raced a open wheel modified. That's my big car experience, and I've done some stuff at VIR non-competitively. But I want to get into a late model, and I called my dad 2 weeks ago. I said I'd pay my way into a ride if I can, if I have enough money for it, and I know somebody that's got a ride. I'll pay my way into one just to get in the seat. But yeah, it costs a lot of money.
Money wise, I don't. Yeah, I've tried to figure it out. And although right now, the late model series is blowing up everywhere.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
and I'm so excited to see it.
Yes.
About 5 years ago, there was a team that we used to kart race with. It's Hillbilly Racing. Derek Hill was the kart racer we used to race with, but they have a tour mod. I guess it's Smart Modifieds that they're running, the 79 car. And back about, maybe it was more than 5 years ago, but somebody had passed down to me that car, you could get in that car for a weekend for like $2,000. And I sat there and I did the math, like napkin math. I'm like, that does not make sense. Like, I'm like, $2,000. Well, if I get into a crash, it's not my fault. Am I coming out $50,000 to fix this thing? Like, what's the deal? I don't understand that on the pay to drive side, but
yes.
It's very intriguing to me how these teams do it. I don't know how they do it.
Wow.
So.
Very cool.
All right. Well, it was great catching up. Do you got any?
No. It's. I was impressed. You're young. You're ambitious. Your story is really cool. We wanted you to be able to tell it, and if you can give a shout out, how do people hire you to have your responders come clean their office? Yep.
So you can find us on Facebook or Instagram. It's First Response Building Services, just spelled all the way out. And we also have a website, firstresponsebuildingservices.com. Probably the easiest way to contact me is my phone number on there, or you can shoot us a message too. But I make it a goal if that phone rings, we pick up, on the first 2 rings.
Yeah,
so that's the goal.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Before you get out of here, we always ask our guest if you could choose anybody in history or current to hang out with for a 24-hour period, who would it be, and where would you hang out with them?
Oh man,
just anybody in history.
Shoot. Okay, let me think here. This is going to be on the nerdier business side of it, but I would probably say just to watch him, Steve Jobs.
That's cool.
Yeah, just to see how he leads people and try to maybe not emulate everything he does, but just learn how he did what he did with what he had.
That's the first time we ever had that answer. That's really cool, man.
Yeah, we're always shocked. Like, you just never know what people are going to say, but that's cool. Yeah. It also gives you a little leeway into the mindset of the people that you're talking with.
Right.
So I can see
awesome.
that.
That's a great question. I enjoyed that.
So. All right. Well, thanks again. That is
awesome interview.
Ty Severa, owner of First Response Building Services.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.